first thing I felt wasn't pain, it was the weight of the blanket. Hospital blankets have this specific kind of heaviness, like they're trying to remind your body it's still here. My eyelids felt glued. There was a beeping somewhere to my left, steady, almost polite. And then I heard my mother's voice in the hallway, sharp and bright the way it gets when she's performing for strangers. Well, we left as soon as we could. You understand. I didn't open my eyes right away. I just lay there listening to the cadence of her lie, because I'd heard that exact tone 1,000 times growing up. It's the voice she uses at parent-teacher conferences. The voice she used at my high school graduation when my aunt asked why she missed the ceremony. The voice that means whatever follows is not going to be true, but everyone in earshot is going to agree it is. A nurse said something low. My mother answered, louder, almost laughing. Oh, she's tough. She'll bounce back. She always does. That was when I opened my eyes. The ceiling tiles have little brown water stains in the corner. The light buzzed. There was a paper cup of water on the side table that nobody had bothered to bring close enough for me to reach. No flowers, no card, no coat draped over the chair, no purse abandoned in the corner. Just me and a saline drip, and the slow realization that I had no idea how long I'd been in this room. My name is Sloan. I'm 31 years old. I'm a paramedic in a small city outside Sacramento, the kind of town where the freeway exit is named after a strip mall. I've spent the last 7 years running on caffeine and night shifts, kneeling on cracked asphalt under freeway lights, telling strangers to look at me, just look at me, while their bodies tried to give up. I'm good at my job. I am, genuinely. The only thing I've never been able to keep alive is the version of me that exists outside of work. For the last 5 years, I had been the one who paid. The mortgage when my dad's roofing business went under. The credit cards when my mother decided the old kitchen had to go. The lease on my younger brother's truck. His community college tuition, the one he dropped out of after a semester to find his sound. His sound, by the way, was a podcast that lasted 3 episodes. The truck stayed. My brother's name is Bo. He's 26 and he has never paid for a meal he ate at our parents' house, which is the only house he has ever lived in. My mother calls him sensitive. My father calls him a late bloomer. I've been calling him by his name since he was born, and somehow I'm the one who feels like she has to earn the right to sit at the table. The math of it, when I finally let myself add it up one night on the back of a takeout receipt, was about $112,000 over 5 years. Some of it loans I'd told myself would be repaid. Most of it transfers I made with my jaw clenched and a story I told myself about being a good daughter. You can rationalize a lot of money when you grow up believing love is a thing you have to earn in installments. I had been working a stretch of doubles, 3 in a row, which technically isn't legal, but our station was short 2 medics, and the supervisor turned a blind eye if you signed the right paperwork. I remember the last call clearly even now. A guy in his 60s, chest pain, 2nd floor walk-up. We carried him down the stairs, and I felt my own pulse hammering in my ears, louder than his. By the time we got him loaded, the world was tilting a little. I kept blinking to make it settle. My partner asked if I was okay. I said yeah. I lied. We always lie about that. I don't remember the part where I went down. I remember sitting on the curb at the hospital bay after we transferred the patient, and then I remember a sound like someone shouting my name from far away, and then nothing until that blanket. 3 days of nothing, it turned out. Severe dehydration. An arrhythmia they caught just in time. A potassium level so low one of the residents told me later he was surprised I'd been walking. The first nurse I met when I finally could string a sentence together was a woman with cropped gray hair and warm brown eyes named Marisol. She came in to check my IV and saw me looking at the empty chair. "Your family came," she said, "the way you announce weather, carefully." "How long did they stay?" She didn't answer right away. That pause told me everything. Anyone who's done emergency work knows that pause. It's the same pause we use before we tell a wife her husband didn't make it. "About 15 minutes, hon." I let out a breath that turned into something rougher. 15. Your mother had a flight to catch. Marisol's voice was very even. She mentioned it twice. A flight where? Marisol checked something on her tablet. She did not actually need to check. Maui. She said Maui. Of course it was Maui. Bo had been talking about Maui for months. Some surf retreat thing he'd seen on Instagram, the kind that costs $4,000 a week and promises to put you in touch with your authentic self. He'd asked me for the deposit in March. I'd said no for the first time in 5 years. My mother had not spoken to me for 9 days afterward, until my father called and asked if I was really going to let my brother miss the opportunity of a lifetime. I'd transferred the money the next morning. I hadn't slept that night. I remember thinking, while I tapped the confirm button on my phone, that I felt like I was paying ransom for a hostage I couldn't see. So they had taken my money and flown to Maui, while I lay 3 days unconscious in a hospital 15 miles from their house. I asked Marisol for water. I didn't cry. I couldn't, actually. I was too dehydrated. There's a small, awful comedy in that. That night, I learned the rest in pieces. The hospital had called my mother as my emergency contact when they brought me in. She had come. She had stood in the doorway for, by Marisol's count, 11 minutes. She had told the attending I was always overworking and that I'd be fine in a day or two. Then she had left to make her flight. My father had not come. My brother had not come. My brother had not come. The flowers I half expected to materialize out of guilt never did. 3 days, and the only thing waiting for me when I woke up was the hospital's Wi-Fi password on a laminated card. I told myself I was too tired to be angry. That was a lie I lasted about an hour with. The second night, I asked Marisol something I hadn't expected to ask. Did anybody else come? I'm not sure why I said it. It wasn't hope, exactly. It was the particular instinct you get in this job, where you learn that there's always more to a scene than what the responding officer wrote down. Always another neighbor, always another car on the street, always another set of footprints in the snow. Marisol stopped what she was doing. She looked at me for a long second. Then she said, "Every night, actually." The hair on my arms stood up. "What?" "Every night since you came in." "Late? Usually after 11. He doesn't come in. He stays in the hallway." She nodded at the small window in the door. "He stands right there. I told him he could sit in the family lounge, but he said he didn't want to be where he couldn't see you. I asked if he was a relative. He said something like, 'I'm something close to it.'" I stared at her. "Who?" "I'm not supposed to give names without consent, but he signs in every night. He gives the desk his ID. It's all on the visitor record." She paused and then she said, quieter, "Honey, he stays until almost 6 in the morning every single night. He brings a thermos. He doesn't talk to anybody." I couldn't make my mouth work for a second. "What does he look like?" "Tall. Older. Maybe late 50s, early 60s, gray at the temples. He's got hands that have worked. He wears a brown jacket. He always wears the brown jacket." I closed my eyes. My heart monitor sped up. Marisol watched the screen and her mouth did a small, soft thing. "Do you want me to tell him you're awake?" I should have said yes immediately. Instead, I said, "Not yet. I wanted to see him first." Without him knowing. The next night, around midnight, I shifted my pillows so I could keep my eyes open just enough to see through the slit in the curtain Marisol had left for me on purpose, bless her. And he came, right around 11:40. He was exactly what she'd described. Tall, slightly stooped, brown jacket. He didn't try the door. He stood about 3 feet from the glass, and he just looked. He didn't read anything on his phone. He didn't pace. He didn't sit. He just stood with his hands at his sides, and he watched the rise and fall of my breathing the way you watch a fire that you can't decide to feed or put out. Once, he put his palm against the glass, just for a second. Then he took it away like he was embarrassed to have done it. I had never seen him before in my life. I lay there in the dark for a long time after he sat down in the corridor chair with his thermos. I tried to think of a single person from my parents' world who could have shown up like that. A coworker of my dad's, an old neighbor, a long-lost uncle. Nothing fit. Nothing in my mother's carefully curated family album included a man in a brown jacket who would spend his nights in a hallway for the daughter of a woman he wasn't related to. The next morning, Marisol brought me Jell-O and the visitor log printout, folded once. She set it on my tray without a word and walked out. I unfolded it with my hands shaking, which was annoying because by then I'd built up the cardiac strength to be furious about something small. The name on every line for the last 6 nights was the same. Harlan Briggs. I didn't know that name. I had never heard that name. I said it out loud, and the syllables didn't move anything in me. And yet, my chest did the thing chests do when something is true that you can't yet identify. I called Marisol back in. Did he tell you anything else about himself? Anything? She thought about it. He said he'd been waiting a long time for the right way to come, that this wasn't how he wanted it to happen. He said your mother knew him a long time ago. There it was, a long time ago. The phrase my mother had used my whole life every time I asked about anything before Beau was born. A long time ago, Sloan. What does it matter? A long time ago, Sloan. Can we talk about something pleasant for once? I asked Marisol one more thing. Did he say anything about the bill? She actually flinched a little. Honey, the hospital won't tell you outright because of privacy, but you should ask billing about your account before you sign anything when you go home. I asked. Of course I asked. The woman at billing, who looked at me over a pair of bright purple readers, scrolled through my chart and said, "It looks like your balance has been satisfied. Paid in full this morning, actually." By whom? She squinted. Private wire transfer. No payer name shared with the patient per the payer's request. Was it large? She gave me a small, careful smile. Substantial. I sat in the wheelchair on the way back upstairs and didn't say a word. The orderly thought I was tired. I wasn't tired. I was rearranging the architecture of my whole life in my head, and I was running out of rooms to put things in. On the 7th night, I told Marisol to bring him in. He came through the door slowly, like the air in the room was made of glass. He held the brown jacket in his hands instead of wearing it, which somehow made him look older and smaller. He had a face like a wall that had weathered a lot of seasons. Kind eyes, though. Tired in the same way my eyes were tired, which is something I noticed without wanting to. Sloan, he said. The way he said my name was wrong in a way that was right. Like he'd said it to himself a lot, but never to me. Like he'd practiced it in a car for years. Sit down. He sat. He set the jacket across his knees. He didn't reach for me. He didn't even try. I don't know you, I said. Please tell me what's happening. He looked at the blanket. Then he looked at the window. Then he looked at me, and I could see him decide to stop hiding. I knew your mother a long time before she met your dad, he said. We were together for 3 years. I was 28, she was 24. We were going to get married. His voice cracked just slightly on the word married, and then he steadied it the way you steady your hands before you start an IV line. When she got pregnant with you, she told me she didn't want to do it with me. She wanted somebody steadier, somebody whose family her family approved of. I begged her. She told me to go away and let her live her life. I went away because I thought that was what you do when you love somebody. I was wrong about that. I've been wrong about that for 31 years. The monitor beeped a little faster. You're my father. He didn't say yes out loud. He just nodded once, and a single tear came down the right side of his face, and he didn't try to wipe it. Why now? Because she called me 3 weeks ago, Sloan. She called me out of the blue. I hadn't heard her voice in over 30 years. She called me to ask if I would loan her some money. She said her daughter was making things difficult for the family. She said her daughter had become very selfish lately. She said she needed $40,000 to help her son go on a trip, and could I please send it because, and this is the part I'm telling you exactly the way she said it, because you owed her for the inconvenience of you. I made a sound. I don't know what kind of sound. It wasn't a word. I didn't send her money, he said. I started asking around. I have a cousin who works at the hospital across town, a different one than this. She'd heard about a paramedic named Sloan. She told me your station. I didn't know how to come to your door, Sloan. I had been a coward for 31 years. I was working up to it. And then I called the dispatch number a week ago, and a woman said you'd been admitted, and I was here in 40 minutes. He pressed his hand flat against the brown jacket. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I waited. I'm sorry I let her tell me to go. I looked at him for a long time, long enough that he started to look afraid. Did you pay my hospital bill? Yes. How much was it, Sloan? Don't worry about that. How much was it? Sloan, 38,000 and change. I closed my eyes. 38,000 and change. I closed my eyes. There were a lot of things I could have said. The one I said was, she asked you for 40 for a vacation and you paid 38 for me to wake up. He didn't answer. He just sat there with his jacket and his quiet, ruined face. I let myself cry for the first time in a week. He didn't reach for me. He didn't try to fix it. He just stayed, the whole time, like he had been doing through the glass for 6 nights running. On day 10, my mother walked into my room with the energy of a woman who had spent a week being adored by hotel staff. Her hair was the kind of brassy gold that only happens when you spend too much time in salt water and too much money on highlights. Her shoulders were pink. She was carrying a magazine like she planned to read it in the car on the way home. "Honey," she said, "you look better. Where's Dad?" "Parking. He'll be up in a minute." "Listen, we need to talk about discharge. I told the front desk we'd handle it. There's some paperwork. There's nothing to handle. Don't be like that. I changed my emergency contact 2 days ago. I'm not coming home with you." She blinked. Her mouth did that small motion it does when she's recalibrating. "Sweetheart, you're confused. You had a heart thing. We'll take you home. You'll rest and we'll—" "I'm not confused. Sloan, sit down, Mom." She didn't. She stood there with her magazine clutched in her fist. My father came in then, looking tired the way he always looks, like the world had asked him a question he never wanted to answer. He saw me. He didn't say hello. He looked at the monitor, then at the IV bag, then at the magazine in my mother's hand, like he was trying to decide which of those things was most expensive. "Tell her she's being unreasonable, Roy," my mother said. "Hi, Dad," I said. He looked at me like I had set a trap. "How was Maui?" I said. My mother started to talk. I held up my hand. It was thin and shook a little, but it held. "I want to tell you what's going to happen now," I said. "I'm going to be discharged today, but not with you. The auto pay on your mortgage was canceled 3 days ago. The card you have on file for Bo's phone bill was closed yesterday. The transfer that was scheduled for the 1st of next month, the one for $2,000 that was going to cover his rent on the apartment he keeps saying he doesn't live in but absolutely lives in, that one is canceled too. I'm not your bank anymore. I'm not your savings account. I'm not your insurance policy. I am your daughter, and I almost died on a curb, and you went to Maui. Sloan, you went to Maui. You always do this," she said, and her voice slid into the register I knew best, the one with the edge of a knife in it. "You always make it about you. We came. We sat with you. We were here for hours." 11 minutes, I said. "It was 11 minutes. There's a record. You're being dramatic. You called Harlan Briggs 3 weeks ago." The room got very quiet. My mother's face did something I had never seen it do. It went still, truly still, like someone had pulled a plug. "Where did you hear that name?" she said. Her voice was different. "He's been here every night, Mom, every night for the last week. He's the one who paid the hospital. He's the one who showed up. He came in last night and told me everything. So I would like to know how it is that you asked my biological father for $40,000 to send my brother to Maui, and then went on the trip anyway, and then left me alone in an ICU." My father turned to look at her, slowly. The way you turn to look at something you've smelled burning for a long time. "What is she talking about, Diane?" "She's confused. What is she talking about?" My mother's jaw clenched. "Roy, not here. You told me her father was a man named Travis who died in a car accident before she was born. Roy." "Diane, what is she talking about?" "I will give my father this much. He didn't yell. He didn't break anything. He just stared at her, and I watched a 31-year-old marriage walk to the edge of a room and look down. My mother started to cry. The kind of crying she does, which is performance crying. The kind with no actual tears. I knew that crying. I had been responding to that crying my whole life. Today it didn't work on me or on him. The door opened. Harlan stepped in. He had the brown jacket on this time. He looked at my mother, and his face did not do anything dramatic. He just looked at her with 31 years of waiting in it. She made a small sound. "You can't be here," she whispered. "I've been here every night, Diane," he said. "You'd have known that if you'd been here too." My father, who had not raised his voice once, said, "I would like both of you to leave my daughter's room." He meant my mother. I knew he meant my mother. I knew he meant my mother. So did she. She left. She didn't slam the door. She just left, with the magazine still in her hand, and I don't know where she went. My father stayed in the doorway with his hand on the frame for a long time. He didn't look at Harlan. He didn't look at me. Then he said, very quietly to nobody in particular, "I always wondered why you looked like nobody." And he walked out. Bo called me about 4 hours later. He had a story already. Mom was very upset. Mom was just trying to be a good mother. Mom hadn't had it easy. Mom had done her best. The trip was for him, sure, but it was a family thing, and I was making it ugly. Could I please call her? Could I please not do this? Could I please send the money for next month's rent? Because, and I quote, "I didn't have anything to do with any of that and I shouldn't be punished for it." I let him finish. Then I said, "I love you, Bo. I have loved you, Bo. I have loved you since you were a baby. I'm going to love you for the rest of your life. And I am never sending you another dollar." He hung up. He's called 14 more times since. I haven't picked up. Marisol discharged me on a Tuesday. She walked me to the front door and she held my elbow even though I didn't need her to, and at the curb she squeezed my arm and said, "You take care of yourself, paramedic." It was the first time anyone had called me that to my face in a way that wasn't about a job. Harlan was waiting in his truck. He had the passenger seat cleared. He had a bottle of water in the cup holder. He had not asked me where he should take me. He was waiting to hear. "Take me home," I said. My home, not anybody else's. He drove me to my apartment. He carried my bag to the door. He did not come in. He said, "I'll be at the diner on 4th Street tomorrow at 9 if you want to have breakfast. If you don't, I'll be there the day after, and the day after that." I have eaten breakfast with him every Saturday for 3 months now. He orders the same thing every time. 2 eggs, wheat toast, no jam. He listens more than he talks. He has shown me a photograph of his mother, who would have been my grandmother. She had my eyes. I had cried in a diner booth on a Saturday morning over a stranger's mother who had been mine all along. My mother has called. I have not picked up. She has sent letters. I have not opened them. My father, of all people, called me last week. He didn't apologize for 31 years. He apologized for 15 minutes. He said he hadn't known I was that sick. He said he should have stayed. He said he was sorry. I told him I'd think about whether I wanted to see him. He said okay. He said take all the time you need. It's the most respect he has ever shown me. I don't know yet what I'll do with it. People ask me, the few people who know the whole story, if I'm okay. They mean it kindly. They mean, "Are you sad?" The strange thing is, I'm not sad in the way they expect. I am tired in a deep, clean way, like I have set down something I had been carrying without knowing I was carrying it. I sleep 8 hours now. I eat real meals. I canceled 3 of my recurring overtime slots. I bought a plant. I haven't killed it yet. The thing nobody tells you about being the responsible one is that it isn't a job. It's a costume. People put it on you when you're small, and then everybody around you forgets you are wearing it. They start mistaking it for your face. The hardest part of taking it off isn't the people who get angry. It's the moment you look in the mirror and have to learn what you actually look like underneath. I keep thinking about that brown jacket, about a man who stood outside a glass door for 6 nights in a row without asking anything of me, without expecting anything, without expecting anything. Without trying to be owed. My mother used to say that family is the ones who never leave you. She was right about the words. She was wrong about everyone she meant them about. Family, it turns out, is the one who stayed in the hallway. I've thought a lot, in the months since I came home from that hospital, about how something like this gets to happen. How a person can almost die on a curb while the people who raised her are picking out resort wristbands. It didn't happen all at once. That's the thing I want anyone to understand. It happened in small transfers, in quiet yeses. In the years I told myself that paying my brother Beau's rent was easier than the fight, and that covering my mother Diane's mortgage was just what good daughters did. Every small yes was a brick I handed her, and at some point she had built a whole house out of them, and I was the one sleeping outside it. What I learned, lying in that bed with the saline drip and the buzzing light, is that love that requires you to disappear is not love. It's a transaction with a smile on it. The people who really love you don't need you to bleed first. They show up. They stand in hallways in brown jackets. They don't ask what it costs to be there. I think about Harlan a lot, about a man who spent 31 years believing the kindest thing he could do was stay away, and then, the minute he heard I was hurt, drove through the night and stood at a piece of glass for 6 hours at a stretch. He didn't earn me with money. He earned me with presence. There's a difference, and I had never seen it modeled in my own house. I had to be unconscious to learn what it looked like. The hardest part of saying no to my family wasn't the loss. It was discovering how little was actually there to lose. When the auto pay stopped, when the rent transfers ended, when I stopped picking up Bo's calls, the silence that followed told me everything I needed to know about what we had been. It hadn't been a family. It had been an arrangement, and I had been the one with the open wallet. If there is anything I want to leave for anyone listening, it is this. Be careful what you call love. Be careful who you let train you to feel guilty for breathing. A person who keeps you tired so you'll keep paying is not your person. A parent who only calls when the card declines is not your parent in the way you've been told. You do not owe anyone the contents of your life because they brought you into it. That is the oldest debt in the world and the most quietly cruel. It takes real strength to stop being useful to people who never plan to love you back. It takes more strength to walk outside afterward and learn what the rest of your life is for. I am still learning. I make a real dinner now. I take my own days off. I have a father who orders the same eggs every Saturday and looks at me like I am someone worth looking at. That is what I traded my old family for. I would do it again tomorrow.